Hey guys, Lou with LG Speed and Custom here, and in this video we are building exhaust on my 32 Ford. Yes, the time has finally come on this project to build exhaust. I'm going to do some stainless lake pipes, which for you regulars of the channel, you'll know that we've built stainless lake pipes on this channel before. We build them out of, this is tubing for building breweries or like milk factories use them. It's like food transport, liquid tubing stuff. I don't know exactly what it's technically for, but the place that I buy the tubing from sells it to like companies that build microbreweries and stuff like that. It is slightly thicker than regular exhaust tubing, like just a little bit thicker, which makes it a little bit nicer to work with because you can, weld it a little heavier. Got a little bit more meat to metal finish it. The reason I really like using this tubing is because aside from buying the straight lengths, you can buy perfect 90 degrees and perfect 45-degree bends, which makes, it kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out of building exhaust. When you buy, like U-bends, for example, to buy, like build your own, when you buy header kits or build your own exhaust kits and it comes with all the U-bends and stuff, you gotta like figure out all your bends and stuff, and what you think is a 45-degree bend very rarely is a 45-degree bend. What you think is a perfectly straight flat cut, it's very rarely a straight flat cut. So this kind of takes all that guesswork out and makes it a lot easier. Once we're done building these pipes, we are gonna polish them because chrome lake pipes are really expensive and they're not the best quality. This tubing is considerably cheaper. I did talk to, there's a chrome shop close by. I talked to them about getting them to polish it because I thought, like, they polish chrome all the time. They can do it probably way better than I can. But they had chrome shop pricing, and when I found out how much they were going to charge me to do these two pipes, I was like, you know what? I'll polish it on my own. Built the whole car. We're like, I'm a do-it-yourself guy. Built this whole car. Why would I stop now? So we'll polish our own pipes. When we come off the front here, we're probably going to go in somewhere about there, and then just hook up to the headers that we put on in a previous video. So that's the gist of what this video is going to be about. We're going to build some pipes, hook them up to our headers, build some mounts, polish them, make some noise. It's going to be great. So I've played around with a couple different lengths here, and where I want to turn and go in kind of gets weird because the longer the pipe is, I think the better it looks, but at the same time, the longer we get, the bigger this gap gets. And that kind of gets weird. So what I've determined is I've got the kick out where I like it. Over here, I'm very happy with that. Basically our weld, where we're going to weld this 45 onto the straight piece, is about in line with our running board piping. So I was thinking on this end, probably do the same thing. Let's kick this pipe 90 degrees in and under the running board, or under the fender I should say, about where the running board ends. I think that will be a nice balanced look. It won't get too weird in here. And I have this piece of pipe left over from a previous job that just happens to be the right length. If I cut it in half, I can do two pipes out of this one. I've got, I don't know, about an inch, I would guess, in between here. When we did the running board video and I upholstered these running boards and I mocked this pipe up on here, a lot of people mentioned, aren't you afraid that the pipe is going to get hot and melt the running board? Or at least melt the running board upholstery. And to be honest, I hadn't really thought of that. So I spaced it down to, where I think it will be okay. I hope it will be okay. So let's find out. It might melt it. I don't know. I have no idea. That was really good. Like you guys that suggested that was really cool of you to think of that because I definitely did not. But rather than completely change my plan, and always wonder, will it get hot enough to melt the running boards? I'm more of the kind of guy that would rather let's find out if it melts the running boards. Let's build our pipe and see what happens. I think it'll be okay. We got pretty good spacing in here. And you know what? If it isn't okay, if it does melt the running boards, then we'll just redo the running boards. It'll be fine. It's not the end of the world. And we'll change our exhaust. All right, first things first, let's do some measuring and do some cutting so that we've got 2 lengths that are the right length we need for this. So with going on our plan of having our welds the same length as the running board, let's just cut our pieces at 42 inches, which happens to be the exact length of the running board. We've got both lengths cut to 42 inches. So now we can go ahead and we'll probably just tack them on at first. We'll tack our ends on. So these are how these pieces come. This is the 90, this is a 45. And it's pretty cool how they got these caps on them because it's food safe stuff. So you got to keep the insides nice and clean. But it's pretty cool how they just like fit so nice and perfect up against each other. Our piece here that we just cut, you know, boom, perfect 90 degrees. Now, if you want to do a 180, boom, 180, perfect. I find it works really good. Say you're coming along the frame, you use one of these to kick up and go over the axle, and then you can do one of those on the other side of the axle, and then one of these, and you know, you're going perfectly straight. You're on the same plane again. You don't come over the axle and then make your cut a little bit wrong and end up going up a little bit, you know. So you correct it by bringing it down, and then you got a gap that you got to weld up. So it's just really nice stuff to work with. Stainless, when you weld stainless, you got to purge the inside. You can't have any oxygen on the inside. So on my TIG welder, which isn't, I just realized isn't even hooked up. I just got a fresh bottle yesterday because I wouldn't have enough to do this job. But I've got a T off my argon line so that I've got one that goes into the welder like normal. And then I've got another just free floating line, this guy right here. And I stick that in the end of the pipe. And what that does is just fills the inside of the pipe with argon. And that way, the reason you got to do that is with stainless, when you're welding it, oxygen in the air contaminates it. That's why you've got your gas, it's your argon gas, shields that oxygen, or shields the weld away from your oxygen so it doesn't get contaminated, at least until it like cools down to a certain point, and then it's fine. Stainless is like really sensitive to that. So on the inside, obviously we're not going to be able to get gas on the inside just using the welder itself. So we need to fill the inside of that tube with argon as well so that the oxygen inside doesn't contaminate that. So that's one thing to keep in mind with stainless. If you don't do that, it gets contaminated and it gets this like sugary kind of look on the inside. And it's just, it makes it a little bit brittle. So I got my regulator hooked up to the bottle, and here's where you can see my little T that I've got for the extra argon line. So this line here just simply hooks into, which one is it here? This side right here. So let's turn our bottle on. And when I crack this valve, you can hear the argon coming out. So I'm just going to take this little end, and it's just kind of like press fits in there. I'm not worried about making this airtight. That doesn't really matter. It's just to fill it with argon more or less. So we'll stuff that in there, crack our line, or crack our valve open, and this is now filling the tube full of argon. Over here on this end, I don't know if you can hear the argon coming through. So I've got my end piece that I want to put on. We're going to put this little 45 on there. If I was going to fully weld this, I just put this cap back over, and that really plugs it off so that it literally fills full of argon. But just for tacking it, I want it to stay nice and flat on my table surface just to make sure it's super square. And for tacking, you know, we're probably okay without having it capped. So along with tacking this end on, what I'm gonna do is tack the 90-degree one on this side and then do the same on that pipe. We'll keep it laying, you know, nice and flat. That's the other nice thing about these ends is like we can put our 45 on this end and put our 90 on this end, and as long as we keep it like flat on the table and have them 180 degrees apart, we know they're gonna be like clocked properly and not have a 45 this way and then the 90 is actually going up like that. Okay, I think that looks okay. Don't you? That's a nice length. And then on the inside here, we're just gonna have to go from here to there. So, boom. Now that I know this looks okay and it's gonna work out, I haven't tacked the other side up yet. I'm gonna tack that side up, and then I'm gonna fully weld them. Both lake pipes are welded up, and I've got them just kind of mocked back up on the jack stands here. I was gonna just do the lake pipes and then polish them and then build the exhaust, but I mean, we only need to go from here to here. So I think I'm just gonna build the rest of the exhaust system, weld it all up, and then polish the lake pipes. Maybe even polish the whole thing, or you know, polish the outside edge that you see and polish this edge that you see and not worry about the backs. I don't know. I don't know how much I'm going to polish yet, but my point is I'm going to build the rest of it before I do any of that. So on our header here, we've got a V-band clamp. For those that aren't familiar with a V-band clamp, this is a V-band clamp. You've got a male end that welds to your header, or, you know, one piece of pipe. And then you've got a female end. See, it's got this little recess in it, and this is a little bit proud. They click together. So this end welds to the other piece of pipe that you want to join to. And then this clamp goes around, sucks it together, and squeezes them tight. The cool thing with V-band clamps is you can take this apart and put it back together as many times as you want, and it's going to be a perfect seal every time. And no gaskets, no leaks. As the pipe gets hot and this expands, it creates an even tighter seal. So I think these were originally used for like plumbing, but they're becoming pretty popular in the automotive world now. So that's what we've got on there. I'm gonna take some of our 45s, I think, and a couple cutoffs of pipe, and see if I can figure out a routing to connect that pipe to this pipe. For the outside pipes, I used brand new stainless. However, for the part under the car that we're not gonna really see that much, I've got this giant length, I don't know how long it is, maybe 15 feet, maybe longer, that I got from my neighbor when he moved out. He used to build, he worked or like contracted to the milk plant, and this is all out of the milk factory. So this piece of pipe he had to replace for some reason. I can't remember why. He said there was nothing wrong with it other than because it got like exposed, it couldn't have milk go through it anymore. So he brought it back home to use and decided that he didn't actually need it. So he's giving it to me. So I'm gonna use it to make my inside pieces. It's the exact same tubing that I use Just this piece is got a little bit of wear and tear and shelf life on it, but it was free, so I'll take it, because the other stuff is like, I think $12 or $18 a foot. I can't remember. Anyways, I got my first piece measured out here. I'm gonna cut it and start mocking it up. Okay, everything is all tacked up now. I've got one exhaust hanger down at this end, just off the end of the running board right there. I don't have an exhaust hanger here. I don't know if I need one or not. Right now, it's just tacked. It's got a little bit of wiggle right there. But when it's fully welded, that might change. I mean, our whole pipe is not very long. We're maybe 5 or 6 feet of pipe. I think I'm gonna pull it off right now, fully weld it, put it back on, and see if it still flexes like that. And if it does flex, then we can easily put another hanger off the running board right here. That's no big deal at all. Should probably just do that anyways, but I'm curious. I wanna see if this will work or not. As far as our gap in our running board here, I can get my fingers pretty well through there. I'd say we got about a 1/2 inch gap. Is that close enough that, or far enough away that it's gonna be okay? Or is it gonna melt it? I don't know. I have no idea. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this car is, this is an experiment to see what we can get away with and what we can't. So let's find out. I'll pull this off, fully weld it on the bench, put it back on. So I went ahead and added the second exhaust hanger up at the front here, because all the tools were already out. Literally all I had to do was just drill a hole and weld it on. I also realized I didn't even show you guys what I came up with here. So we come off the pipe and we go 90 degrees up to here, and then we go 90 degrees this way to a little piece of pipe, and then we just got a 45 going into there, and it worked really good. I still got one of my little clamps on here. These are little things that I made for squeezing pipes together, and then you can tack in between just to hold them. Our gap on the back side of this isn't, perfect, but it's not like these ones. These gaps are all really nice, but that one there, because this piece comes off the engine on a bit of an angle, it's not 100% there, but it'll work. It'll be fine, just fine. All right, now that hanger's on, and I've shown you guys this piece, now we can weld it up. Our pipe is off, and on the bench, we've got the end capped down here. And then this end here, we've got our purge line hooked into. So that's filling the pipe full of argon. Let's start welding it up. We are all welded up. Turned out pretty okay. I just gave it a quick little Scotch-Brite, but eventually we're gonna grind and polish all of this. For now, I'm going to bolt it back on the car to make sure everything is still happy and fits, and then start building the others. Ooh, that's still warm. start building the other side, and once the other side is done, then I'll polish them both at the same time. Oh, thank you. There we are, all bolted back on. Can I have that one? Or are you gonna use that one? Okay, you can hang on to that one. Worked out not bad. I like it. I just finished building the passenger side here. We just come off the header, kick down. We had to kick over a little bit to clear the X-member brace here. And then 90 degrees over and to our pipe. Just like the other side, we've got a hanger on each end of the pipe. This is all tacked up. Pull it off, weld it up, and then start grinding and polishing. Before I pull this side off and weld it up, I just want to give a special shout out to Dennis Bateman of Alberta, who drew these Roadster pickup renderings and got his son to drop them off here. So super cool. Thanks, Dennis. We'll find a home for these in the shop and hang them up somewhere. I finished welding up the passenger side pipe. I didn't film it because it's literally exactly the same as the driver's side pipe, which you guys just watched me do. Just this bend goes that way instead of that way. Otherwise, it's basically the same. Now, we're gonna start cleaning these up so that we can polish them. All these welds, I'm gonna knock down with 80 grit on the little Rolex 90-degree grinder guy here. I'm gonna start with 80 grit instead of 36 grit because if we start with 36 grit, we're gonna have to sand 36 grit scratches out, and that's gonna take forever. I'm debating doing the whole thing and polishing the whole thing, even though you won't really see any of that. But I don't know if I'm gonna do that for sure yet. We'll see how ambitious I get. We'll start with the important part first and go from there. If it goes smoothly, then maybe we'll do the rest. But yeah, we're just gonna knock the weld down. When I was welding these, I didn't get super carried away making like a perfect Instagram quality weld. I was more concerned about like just getting enough material in there so that when we go to grind this smooth, we don't have any low spots. Just like when I'm doing sheet metal, I'm just gonna knock the top edge off. Little spots like this here, we might be able to get those out. We might have to come back and dab a little bit of filler rod in there. So I'll switch to time lapse now, and that's basically what I'm gonna be doing, is cleaning this up. .80 grit is all done. Before we start sanding our 80 grit out, I've got the other pipe set up in the stand here, so we're gonna do it. I've changed from doing it on the bench to, I got these are aluminum soft jaws that will hold pipe. These are actually for doing AN fittings, but they work good for holding pipe and not crushing or scratching it. So I think this might be a little bit easier to work with. Now that we've got our welds all ground down, we gotta sand out these grinder marks. So I finished that off with the 80 grit Rolex. I'm gonna jump onto the 80 grit with the DA now, and then work from 80 grit to 120 grit, probably 320 grit, and then finish it in like 500 maybe? This is finished off in 80 grit. It's looking pretty good. On this pipe here, I've got down to 320 right now. Probably gonna go from 320 to 500 now. We are in 500 grit. It looks really good. I decided not to worry about this part because I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing this exhaust system. This, like, I don't know, 30, 40-minute video, or I don't know how long the video is going to be, but this video that I'm making this is like a month that I've been working on this. I have very little time to work on this car these days, so I'm not going to get overboard. I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing this. Let's make it shiny. This part shiny. This part is just fine the way it is. You don't see it anyways. This all tucks through the K-member. The only time anyone would ever see this is if that car is upside down, and I got bigger problems then, so let's not worry about it. You guys remember the polisher that we used on Shannon's Meteor? Woo! That's what we're going to use to make this shiny. Way over there next to my toolbox, I do have a buffing wheel, but I found stuff this big is just too like cumbersome in the buffing wheel, and I think this is going to work better. I got an old wool pad. I'm going to stick the wool pad on there. Then I just got this 4-piece polishing compound kit. I can't remember if I got this at KMS Tools or Princess Auto, but those are the kind of places that have it. The black is a heavy cutting one, which we're going to use first to cut all these 500 grit scratches out, and that'll give it a bit of shine. Then we'll jump to the brown, which is going to give it even more shine. These other two are kind of for like aluminum and stuff. I don't know if they'll make any difference on stainless. So let's get to it. We'll take our black, rub a bunch on there. This is definitely easier to do on the polishing wheel. See what happens. That's starting to add some shine, big time. I'm going to add some more now that our pad's a little bit hot. So I'm just going to keep doing this until we got the whole thing until we get the whole thing nice and shiny. Probably not going to focus on the backside too much because it's completely hidden, but we'll make the side that you see shiny. There's a few minutes with the black compound on the wool pad, and it's coming out pretty good. I'm happy with it. At this point right now, they're like just as nice as the chrome ones that we put on Shannon's car, and those were like store-bought, the like $400 lake pipes. So I'm happy with that these are turning out at least that good. I think I'll switch the pipes. We'll do that one with the black, and then we'll switch to the brown compound next. This wool pad, it's really hard to get the polish on, probably because it's for paint, not metal. So I've just been doing it this way, just like waxing a ledge for skateboarding. I'm going to switch to the brown now, and that should give it a little more shine. this is working out great. We've got some pretty good shine going now. I've taken both pipes as far as the white compound, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm gonna switch to a foam pad now from the wool pad. Again, this is just an old used pad that I had. And we'll try it with some mothers just to see if that, you know, is a little icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Just smother it on there. Yeah. This is gonna go flying everywhere, get all over my paint, all over my running boards. It's gonna be great. Second pipe is done with the mothers. It really put a nice finishing touch on it. Cleaned it up nice. Somehow this pipe is quite a bit shinier than that pipe, but that's okay. I think I might have spent more time with the 500 grit sanding this one. It's okay though, because this is the pipe on Shannon's side and she's got much higher standards than me, so that's good. Also, this one, I mean, this one's still shiny, don't get me wrong, just the other one's shinier. But I always like to put the nice stuff on the passenger side, because when you're parked downtown on a Friday night, this car's parked on the side of Main Street, the driver's side is going to be on the street, which means only cars driving by or people across the street are going to see this side. But the other side is going to be right up against the curb where all the people walking are going to see. So that's why I always put the nicest stuff on the passenger side. Just bolted the pipes back on. We can put it on the ground and see how it sounds now. Well, that felt like it took forever, but our exhaust system is done. Polished stainless lake pipes. Turned out really good. I'm super happy with it. And it didn't cost a whole lot of money. Just the price of the actual stainless itself was my only expense. So nice, low budget, high quality exhaust system. I like it. All right, we're gonna call this video here. Thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate it. If you wanna show your support, which I really appreciate, check out lgspeedcustom.com. Get yourself some LG Speed and Custom merch. Gonna take a break from the 32 because we gotta do some work to brown sugar. Brown sugar had a bad day the other day, so we gotta take care of that. Yeah, stay tuned for that video coming up. Probably gonna do 2 weeks again. That video is almost ready, but I'm gonna do 2-week videos instead of the 1 week just because it's a little easier on me, so stay tuned for that one. Thanks again for watching.